We are all everyday people, just everyday people moving through our regular everyday lives. And for some of us, we have the misfortune of ending up in family court. And when we end up in family court, our consistent hope is that these judges will help restore some order in our lives in a fair and just way. Showing up in Sandra Peake's court, in Family Court 257, I realized that Sandra Peake has a strong disliking for everyday people. She treats us like we're an annoyance. Like we are the barriers to her lunch break. And I am pretty well known in political spaces in Harris County. And I found myself sitting in Sandra Peake's court being treated like I was a common crook. I realized then there was no way I could be the only one. I was not the only person that Sandra Peake was treating so poorly, so disrespectfully. But it was my family. And I felt responsible to find out the truth, how to best navigate that hostile environment created by Sandra Peake for the well-being of myself and my children. So I started digging. And the more I dug on Sandra Peake, the quieter I got. Because I realized that I was sitting in fucking hell. And it was going to be Sandra Peake's way or the highway. I knew I wasn't the only one. And so now I'm going to share a story with you of a mom. Her name is Christina. I knew I wasn't the only one. Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to start out by saying I think you are incredibly brave.
Thank you.
And no, thank you, because I knew I wasn't by myself. But you were brave enough to say, hey, I've been there too. So I want to say how much I appreciate you.
Yes.
And tell us who you are. Tell us a little bit about you and your family.
I am Christina Bridges. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm an artist, a multiple artist. I've done music like with the Sauce Twins, Cal
wow.
Wayne. I have a father that actually does music as well from Houston, Texas. The Herschel Warheads, Lil Kiki, Duke Knock, Pie Face, all that kind of stuff. But other than that, I draw, I paint. I'm a mother of 3. Both of my parents are alive. I'm a Bridges as well. One of my cousins from, I think she was originally born in Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
She was the first black woman or black child to go to an all-white school in Louisiana. Her name is Ruby Bridges. So,
Ruby Bridges.
Yeah, so the Bridges is just, we are a long bridge. We cross that bridge. And
long history of women fighting.
Yes, fighting for the truth.
Fighting for the truth. We're everyday people, just like you. Everyday people. There's nothing that we've done that set us up to be victimized by Sandra Peake in 257. We are just everyday people living our lives. And me sitting in that courtroom, this everyday person, I knew I had to do something. That's why I started looking. Christina found me. She found me for the exact same reason I was looking for her. Because we don't want this to happen to anyone else. We don't want other women, other parents. It's not about gender. We don't want other parents to suffer the way we've suffered in this hostile environment that Sandra Peake has created. And we all come with our unique stories. Christina's story will chill you. We, everyday people, our lives should not have to come with a trigger warning. But unfortunately, that is a consistent thread amongst the parents that have come out of Sandra Peake's court. You have to now put a trigger warning on the lives we live. So here is your trigger warning, now attached to Christina's life. Listen to her as she tells her story. Can you tell us what exactly happened?
Okay. We came to Houston for the Easter weekend or whatnot, and I found out that he was cheating or whatever like that, infidelity. And I was just like, his family is down here. I just don't want to go back, and it's more abuse, and I can't get him to leave. And I decided to say, hey, I want to break up with you because I can't take it anymore. Like the abuse, the lies, the grooming, the coaching the kids. Hey, don't say this, don't say that, because if you do, then me and mom's gonna break up, and that's gonna hurt y'all, and I'm not gonna be in y'all life. All this kind of stuff. I just was fed up with it, and I wanted to leave. And I felt like the best way of doing it was in Houston, where he had family that he can go home to. And so we all know that when you're telling an abuser that you're gonna leave, it could be your life. You can lose your life, or you can walk away with your life, but with some bruises. You're not going away without a fight. And so basically, we left my mother's home. I left my friend's house and came over, and he was already kind of drunk or whatever. He was drunk. And when I got in the car, he was like, all right, let's go home. And we pulled up to the gas station, and I was like, hey, I don't want to do this with you anymore. I really want to break up. And he lost his cool. You know what I mean? And when he lost it, I was just like, listen, your mom, your dad, everybody's down here, your family's down here. You can call them so that you can, go to their home, and we'll figure out things later. He was just like, no, I'm not leaving my family. You was tripping. Why would you bring me all the way out here to do this? And I said, well, I didn't bring you out here. We actually was coming for a family trip, but I just feel like it was safer for me to leave you here with family than to bring you back to Dallas, because you know how you are. And then he sped off from the gas station. And when he sped off from the gas station, he was trying to like run us into like a ditch, like make attempts like, I'm finna kill us all if you leave me. So then when I see him speeding up, I'm like, okay, calm down. Just take me to my mama's house. He was like, no, you want to leave me, right? You want to leave me. And so then I'm just like, no, like, just calm down. So then he's like, I'm taking you to your mama's house. I was like, okay. So we pulled up to my mother's house. And then I was just like, all right, can you get out from here? Because the car was my car.
Right.
And he's just like, I'm not going nowhere. We're going to work this out. And I was just like, I really just need you to get out. Like, it's nothing else to work out, right? And so he's just like, no, I'm not. And then he hit me in the back of my head. So then, which I shouldn't have did, but I did start calling the police. And he took the phone and he threw it down on the floor. So when he took the phone and threw it on the floor, and I was like, okay, well, how about you just go in the house? How about you just go in my mama's house? No, I'm not going nowhere. Then he sped off. So then I grabbed my phone and I started trying to call my mama, and he hung it up from the touchscreen. So at this point, he's just yelling, going off or whatever, speeding down the highway. He pulls back up to the gas station or whatever. So then he grabs my phone, and I'm like, give me my phone back. And then he chokes me, and then he hits me in my head again. And then I'm like, man, let me out the car. It's like, you're not going nowhere. So I'm like, so I can't even get out? Like, I'm going to put myself out. He's just like, no, you're not going nowhere. And I was like, well, you need to get out or whatever. And so then he grabbed my phone and he threw it, cracked it. I grabbed his, I threw his and cracked his. and then he charged at me. I was already out the car at the time, and cracked my iPad. And at that time, he knew that I was trying to get like sponsors for this cartoon that I created, and I had store owners trying to create me websites. So he knew everything, even evidence of like voice recordings of things he'd done in the past. He knew it was all on the iPad. So when he charged at me, I thought he was gonna come to hit me, but he came to break the iPad. And so when he did that, he got back in the car, and I started to try to go to the store to try to call the authorities. And that's when he got back in the car and started speeding around the gas pump, trying to run me over. So at that time, I'm jumping in between the gas pump, trying not to get hit, with the kids in the back seat. Mind you, they was asleep. So my 3-year-old that was back there, when he was spinning around fast like that, she hit her face on the door. So when she hit her face on the door, of course, after all this,
Christina came into Sandra Peake's court, Family Court 257, with a standing protective order against her husband. Christina had a standing protective order against her abuser when she walked in to Sandra Peake's courtroom. The things that Christina has shared with me, the things that I am now going to share with you, every single bit of it comes with documented proof. The things that she shares with us is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the things she's endured. And she has provided all of this evidence willingly. I am going to protect her privacy. If ever it is demanded of me, of Christina, to provide proof of what she is saying, we can do that. And I hope someone demands proof. Because the things that Sandra Peake has done definitely rise to the cause of official investigation for judicial misconduct. I hope someone demands proof. We've got it. As her story continues, please understand that everything she is sharing with you, Sandra Peake saw herself. And she's a judge. It is time that you question Sandra Peake's judgment. Please make sure your children are not in earshot for this next portion.
Which they put on file in 2022 was when I said that I walked in and he had an erection while my daughter was laying across his lap. And so when I mentioned that in court, she started laughing like it was funny, or like I'm making up stuff. And she said, "Oh, y'all want to play these type of games? This is what y'all want to do?" And she was just like, "Don't worry about it. I'll get an attorney on that situation or whatever." And I just...
So you told, I just want to make sure we're clear for the people that are watching. You said to Sandra Peake that you had seen your husband like with an erection, and your daughter was where?
On top of his lap.
On top of his lap.
And he had on his drawers.
And nothing else?
And nothing else. And she just was like, she started laughing. And she said, "Y'all want to play these type of games? All right, well, we'll just get the Mickey's." Then she asked me, why didn't I call CPS? And at that time, I did not know what to do, because I already know who I'm dealing with when it come down to you just trying to cold turkey leave, and how abusive he can get, whether he can harm me or the kids. So I'm trying to figure out what's a proper way to protect them and myself when leaving this situation, because anytime I'm coming to authorities, or like as we sit here talking, sitting in court, trying to display this guy's character and behavior, it's laughable, they turn the other cheek or they don't care. And I have, at this point, I'm closed in. Who do you talk to? How do you get the help when you're trying to properly protect yourself and the kid?
Sandra Peake laughed at a mom who had a protective order against her husband when she told Sandra Peake about the abuse to her children. She laughed at her. I've heard the audio recording of Christina's husband admitting what he did. When I tell you everything Christina is saying, there is documented proof. There is documented proof. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't. In the state of Texas, we as parents, we have rights. We have parental rights. And one of those rights is to choose whether we want to put our children in public school or if we want to homeschool them. Because of the circumstances Christina was dealing with, the abuse that she was living with, she made a decision to keep her children with her while she drove long distances on her truck and to homeschool her children. And she has that right. Sandra Peake took that right away from her. And this was what Sandra Peake thought was a better decision. This is Sandra Peake's judgment and action.
Or be consistent, or even just being with the kids like I once were, because I had them with me on the truck, just protecting them from him stalking me, pulling up when he felt like it, even when he was on the protective orders, just violating everything. Even when I made reports, they did nothing. Just to keep my sanity and stuff like that. It ended up being that I could not continue to keep them on the truck because they did need to go to public school at this moment. If we were going to have to do this sharing custody thing and I'm driving over the road, I would not be able to show up and take them to school, still work and be financially providing for my kids if I cannot homeschool them on the truck.
Right.
So since they wanted me to put them in public school, it ended up being that Sandra Peake told him that he needs to find them a school. He needs to get them health benefits and get them their immunization so they can start school. And he ended up having to have the girls more than I would have to have them because of where I was working and things I was doing.
Just so it's like conveyed clearly. It came to a point where the kids had to be enrolled. You were driving a truck.
Yeah.
So Sandra Peake ordered your husband
to put them in,
to put the kids in, to find a school, put the kids in school, and he was supposed to have control over that.
Yep.
And that meant that he had more time alone with your girls.
Yes.
Than you did.
Yes. And at that time, he had gotten before we ever had the hearing, he had got a 1-bedroom apartment.
Okay.
And she asked him, she said, "You got 2 girls and you got a 1-bedroom apartment. Did you know you had 2 girls?" And he said, "Yes." And then she said, "Well, why didn't you get 2 bedrooms?" And then he said, "Well, that's all I could afford at the time." And she still granted him time with the kids.
Wow.
And
you heard that right. You heard that right. Sandra Peake knew that Christina's husband was under a protective order because of his acts of domestic violence. Sandra Peake knew that Christina had caught her husband in an inappropriate and compromising position with their tender-age daughter. And Sandra Peake ordered her husband to take control of them, put them in school, and for them to live with him in a one-bedroom apartment. You heard that right. That is Sandra Peake's judgment in action. Christina made the decision to reconcile with her husband because she was losing her children in Sandra Peake's court. Christina felt like it would be better for her to go back to that abusive environment and get out of Sandra Peake's court than to try to break free of him and run the risk of losing her children altogether. It doesn't matter who you are before you get to Sandra Peake's court. You are a sitting duck to be victimized by her piss poor judgment. Judgment that is so dangerous to children that women who live with abuse choose to stay with their abusers because they've lost hope and faith in a system after being in the hostile environment that Sandra Peake creates. Harris County, we deserve better. Our children deserve better than Sandra Peake. Christina has some words for the Harris County voters, and she wants to share with you now.
You get full sleep.
Is Sandra Peake safe for families?
She's not safe for families. She's dangerous. She's a threat to families. And please don't ever try to answer the question the way she asked it and speak it correctly. She's going to get mad and you're going to be a target. And she's going to play ball with you. She does not care how good you are to the community. She doesn't care what kind of job you have. She doesn't care how good you've been in life. She doesn't care about you showing evidence, pictures. Disregard it. I'm the queen, of course.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. Sandra Peake is coming up for re-election. If there was anything you could tell Harris County voters, if there is something, a message that you could send Harris County voters about Sandra Peake, this is your time, sis. What do you want Harris County voters to know about Sandra Peake?
I want the voters to know that she's in it for the money. She's not concerned about if you're right or not. When you're trying to tell your story, she would disregard you and laugh in your face, because she did it a couple times during my hearing. When it's time for me to tell my story, she told me she's not doing that today, but she sat there the whole 45 minutes and listened to the abuser's story. I want to let y'all know that families is being ripped apart for the sake of money and the corruption of the courts and whatever sneaky underground business they got going on. Children are being violated. They are actually rewarding their children to abusers. So when you think that you're trying to stand up for yourself and protect your kids and say no more, and you go into that court and say that's what business you're standing on the other end they're saying some more. Oh, you thought that was something you was dealing with? That was little compared to what we're getting ready to show you.
You know, bad things happen to good people all the time. And a lot of time, there's nothing we can do about it. We just have to make the best of the situation, deal with the fallout. This is not one of those times. We, the residents of Harris County, we have the power to make sure that parents and children do not continue to be victimized. We have the power to create safer spaces for those of us that are abused, neglected, mistreated. We have the power to protect our children. In the power of our vote, we have the ability to make Harris County a safer place for families. Christina's story is not the only story. There's more to come. Right now, I want to say this to you, Christina. Thank you. Thank you for your courage. Thank you for your effort. Thank you for doing what you can to protect innocent children, innocent parents from Sandra Peake. I wish you a healing journey and good times, safe times with your baby.